I was asking you how you are doing and how you are managing, and you started to answer around sort of level setting expectations for people. So would love to hear more about that part.
Sure. So I think when this whole thing began, I actually think probably the most important thing you have to do is settle people. And which means there's just tons of conversations and tons of communication you have to do, but you have to settle members, and then you have to settle the team so that people can be effective and feel that you have a handle on the situation. We had to put a lot in place initially to get people moving where they can not be paralyzed. So we put in cadences of member communication, far more than we ever did. And we purposely decided with the members, nothing to do with products and services, all about what they needed at this moment in time, whether it was loan deferrals, special loans, whether it was just advice on fraud. So we purposely said, this is no longer about Patelco, this is about the members. And what advice can we give them to point out things? But honestly, that advice lined up perfectly with our financial health mission. So it was really an opportunity retrospectively to fulfill a mission, totally just focused on the members at this time and what they were going through. And then
what was an example of that communication, Erin? I'm just curious, if I'm a member of Patelco and I'm just off my job, and I really don't know how I'm going to pay, rent, never mind electricity. What did those communications look like as you started that really pivot during the pandemic?
Well, there were several of them. So first of all, we made sure everybody understood. We offered up to $5,000, 0% loans, up to 36 months. So we made sure the whole membership knew that and how to apply and how to go through that. We also made sure they knew we would do any loan deferral on any loan product if they needed that. It wasn't just limited to a car or a mortgage. The next thing we did, we believe it or not, we turned off our NSF noticing in the middle of March and didn't turn it back on again until May. And we just said, people just need a break. We don't know what they're going through. There could be a lot of mistakes right now, purposeful or not purposeful. So we're just turning it off. We've waived already over 1.2 million in fees, and the majority of that was NSFs.
Wow.
So initially we did things like that. And then we turned around and like when the CARES Act came out, we actually took the CARES Act and says, this is what it means to you as Patelco member, and where you can get benefits and where and how do you do this. And then we put a lot of resources up on our website that got them very direct information.
Say that's something very new for your team on many fronts, on waiving NSF for a block of time to just let people just kind of breathe into this pandemic and get their feet under them, but also then for your team, that cadence. And how did you keep them energized, not worried? How did you keep them together as you started this? And on mission.
First of all, what was interesting is we were able to get who we needed to be remote within a week. And then the other thing is we kept our branches open. And I know a lot of people closed their branches, or they closed everything except drive up. But in California, you just don't have a lot of drive up because of the cost of property, right?
Sure.
And so we kept our branches opened. And so we really needed to do a lot of care over the branch team, because obviously they're the most concerned, right? They're interacting with the public.
They're right there, yeah.
Right. Really incredible back support team members that were very crafty and found stuff so we can keep our branches going as much as possible. So you had to do all those physical things, right? But I honestly think it's probably our communication cadence that made the biggest difference of all. The first week in March, the senior team and I met and we said, this is going to be a problem. We're going to document and write our priorities and our agreements that we're going to live by through this pandemic. and we're going to make sure that the board adopts them and agrees with them. So early on, we did that. And then we communicated all of that to the team. And then we kept in that same communication cadence over and over and over. So we adopted what we called protect, preserve, and promote. And those were our 3 words that were constantly in our communication. So protect our team and members, preserve our mission, and preserve the value and the long-term value to the membership, and promote the actions that we need to do to conform and comply with any order relative to do with the pandemic. And so those 3 words we intertwined constantly with the team. That's number 1, what we're trying to do. So our abiding rules were, 1, the first thing was we're going to focus on team and team members, not goals. And that projects went to the side if it didn't have anything to do to help with the pandemic with the members or the team. Number 2 was our mission reigns. And our mission is to build our members' financial health and well-being. End of statement. And that means we're going to protect certain things to preserve that mission.
So eloquently simple. I love your mission. Yeah. So how did you so how did you do that?
So there are certain products we have put in place that we consider mission products. And we said, we're not touching these. We're gonna, we're not stopping them. We're keeping them going. And they're mission products because they really are far more financially beneficial to a member. So an example is we have what we call our Level Up program. So that if you had a loan and you weren't in the top tier, if you have 12 months of consecutive on-time payment, we level you up and reduce your rate 50 basis points. And we do that up to 3 times during the life of the loan. Awesome. So that's kind of an example of our mission product. Our tiered money market account, where the highest rates are in the lowest balance tiers, even if we had to change the rate, we wanted to preserve that structure and make sure it was still available above what other markets would do. We also have a very low fee structure. We probably have in the last 7 years eliminated about 50 fees.
Wow.
Plus we've reduced fees. So we said we're gonna preserve our low fee structure. So we have these products and these services that these are mission, we're not touching them. We also have what we call a pure card, which is no frills, no points, no anything, but it's a very low interest rate card. And the purpose of that is so people can pay off their credit debt. Yep. The next thing that was part of our tenets is we got to preserve the team. Yep. So our intent was to go out and say, there's employment here. We're not laying off people. We're not doing anything like that. But we need your help because we need to be able to move you around to places in the organization that are higher transaction levels for us. And we need you to help us preserve your employment by you being flexible to move. So we put in this process to move people around. So for instance, like loan deferments, oh my gosh, we did over 12,000 loan deferments. Yeah. So for over $570 million. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is right.
Just, yeah, talk about needing more people power to help you with that. Yeah, that's incredible, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, and when that kind of settled down, then you can kind of move back. So the team was very flexible. We told them why, we'll do this, but we need something for you to help us be able to do this.
Right.
We preserved all their benefits. So our intent was not to take anything away from the team. And in fact, April is the month we do merits. And we did merits as planned. We said, nope, we're going forward with that. And then we also did a couple special bonuses for the team. just thanking them for all the work they had to do to get prepared for this, the attention they're giving members. And then we've done a couple extra bonuses just for our branch team members, because I think what they've had to endure in particularly, both having to handle the social distancing issue outside of the branch and inside of the branch, and not letting people in without masks, that has not been an easy thing. So they've gotten some extra bonuses just to thank them for, you know, really taking what needed to be done and doing it in a very, very professional way. We no longer have a budget for 2020. We're ignoring it. Doesn't exist. Any of those goals we gave you, they don't exist. Just take care of the members and do the right thing, and do your best doing the right thing, and we'll get through this.
How did your team react to that, Erin? Because that's, I talk about an empowering, I mean, that's basically a statement to me that says, you know, if I were your employee, Gigi, you go put your superwoman cape on and you do what you need to do. I mean, that's a hugely empowering thing for employees. It could also scare the, you know what, out of them for those that like more structure. So how did your team react to that, out of curiosity?
Well, you know, I think it was more of the same of what they've been hearing for several years about our culture and our mission, right? So it wasn't alien, it wasn't foreign, but it was more of, oh yeah, I've already heard this and I know I can do this. What we removed is extra work from them, right? So when we stopped some project work that had nothing to do with the pandemic, then they could just focus. They weren't having to go through training or learn all these new things. And we purposely stopped some of that work until May. And then we decided, okay, we got to bring some of that work back, but we got to get people settled, and they don't need to be learning new things when they're trying to figure out all these environmental issues that they have to deal with, right? As well as the emotional issues of the members. And the fact that we kept these branches open. We really told the branches, our team members, you are essential. You're essential for our members, and you make a difference on what could be better today for them in a situation that's not good. And it's not good for you, and we know that. So,
you know, one of the genesis of this conversation we're having is that, you know, you were at our convening recently and you talked about something that I hadn't really heard anybody talk about on all these calls that we're hearing from different CEOs, but how you talked about your team, how you helped your board stay on mission, how you help volunteers who are, you know, not living this every day, but living it very differently than actually working at the credit union, how you help them accomplish or follow sort of those three precepts that you talked about that you decided early on about. How did you do that? What was that conversation like? I think that's question number one. Question number two is, you know, do you have any advice for anybody else? Because I'm guessing that there are a lot of credit union CEOs that are struggling with that right now, because there's regulatory pressure, there are numbers, there are delinquencies, the press is just all over, you know, what's gonna happen? So just talk to me a little bit about that, because it's a really interesting spin on this. Yeah.
Okay, so remember I said early on, me and the senior team documented our priorities and our agreements.
Right.
That document went to the board, and it went to the March board committee, or the March board meeting, and it was reviewed, and I said, I need you to adopt this. If you can't, we need to talk about it. But I need to make sure we, management and you, are in complete agreement. This is how we're going to operate during this time. And didn't have any issues. Our board was on board.
Interesting.
So, but I wanted to make sure it was in writing and clearly understood.
Right.
So then the next thing we did, because I will tell you, my board is always nervous about capital.
Yeah.
And the reason they're particularly nervous about capital is there's only one way to get capital, and that's through net.
Exactly.
And it doesn't take 2 seconds to figure out what the interest rates that go like this.
Right, and deposits come. on top of it.
And deposits are like this, right? These two things don't work well. Your capital is going to be impacted. But during the Great Recession back in 2008 and 2009, the regulators came in because the capital was declining very quickly.
Yep.
And so there was orders put on in the credit union that businesses had, business services had to be restricted and loans had to be restricted and these type of things. And so for my board, that's in the back of their mind. Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh, I'm going to have regulators in here and they're going to put us under these orders again.
Yeah. And I have a lot of empathy. I have a lot of empathy because I was on that regulatory board and I remember that. So, and I can see where, you know, that was stressful for your board. And I can understand that was the monster under the bed then. And why wouldn't it be the monster under the bed right now? So yeah.
And that's kind of where they went. So the written agreements meant a lot to me because I can then go back to them, right? So that was one. So when we did it at the board, the next thing we did at that same board meeting, we did our first preliminary stress test on our capital.
Yep.
And we reviewed that. But at that time, this is March. And I did have board members who at that time thought, oh, this is all overblown. We don't really have to worry about it. Okay. By about mid-April, their early thoughts are now more severe, right?
Yep.
And so April, we had, besides the April board meeting, we always have what we call a one-day spring planning day. And so we did this virtually, and it was a half day, and it was nothing except we then did 4 scenarios for stress testing. And so we can begin the capital discussion. You know, behind the scenes, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my board chair on this issue. And, you know, their first reaction is to be overly conservative about capital. And, you know, the deposits are just chewing up capital, like nobody's business, right?
Right.
And the way they solved their capital problem back in the Great Recession was to shrink and jettison all these CDs. Okay. It took, if you look historically, more than 6 years for Patelco to recover from those events. So these are really hard things in the back of their minds, right? And so I come from the belief is your capital is there to get you through these times. And what's most important is that you preserve long-term value. And to preserve long-term value, you cannot try to force yourself out of these deposits because you will run people off that you did not intend to run off. And I'm thinking twice within, you know, a 15-year period this is not going to go well. So, so I'm of the opinion you got to weather the storm if you can weather the storm. If you can't, that's a whole different issue. But Patelco can, so I'm not worried about that. So it's the issue of kind of really having the amount of conversations I've had to have around capital and to try to keep them not, you know, because their immediate reaction is, we got to get rid of these deposits. And I'm like, no, no, no. And it took, finally in the month of June, the board finally is like, okay, you're right. These deposits are good. A lot of modeling and walking through our assumptions to make sure they can agree with it. And then every month in every board package, we do our performance against that modeling. So they can see how close we are and for them to get comfortable that we kind of have our arms around this. So there's a lot extra reporting we've put in place, very, very visible. Here's what we're thinking. Here's what's changed from what we're thinking. Here's the new thinking and why. And by the way, here is what it's looking like on a year-to-date basis, not on a budget, but on this modeling.
Taking that monster from under the bed and putting it in the bright sunlight to say, here are the possibilities. Here's what would happen in those possibilities. And here, month by month, here's how that is changing, so that they have a better comfort level around the diminution in capital, which is there for this kind of time. It's there for bad times in order to weather through. Again, if you can, a separate conversation, as you noted, but that's what it's there for. Yeah.
But you know what? One of the things we implemented, oh gosh, 3 or 4 years ago, when we really focused on our mission of financial health, is we changed the monthly board package. But one of the changes is my president's report. And the very first thing on the president's report is our performance to mission. So we implemented certain mission measures, and we report on the mission measures first and foremost. And then what we do is we take different quotes we get from members, from their letters or from our monthly surveys that have to do with financial health. And we put those quotes in the board so they can read from the members' words. And then we talk about our mission and what we've done and what's going on with the mission and how we're fulfilling mission. So that's the first part of our board report.
But that's huge, because you've placed financial health at the center of your strategy, and that's what your board sees every single month as the first thing that measures essentially your success, not not an ROA, not a capital ratio, not a Camel rating, not any other metric. You've put it right there, front and center, that's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah.
And then the second section is the financials. And then the third section is just information that they might be interested in. We open or close a branch, something like that. Right. So they're used to seeing mission performance out there, and they see it every single month. So from the time we've documented the agreements to what we put in our mission performance month after month in the board package, they're very, very good at staying on task with mission. Is
there any other advice that you would give, just sort of broadly? Because, and again, I must admit that I'm prejudiced on that, because I truly believe that member financial well-being and employee financial well-being is at the heart of what credit unions do. It really is at the heart of who they are. It should be at the heart of the strategy, because it's good for business, it's good for members, it's good for communities. How do you think about that, member financial well-being? How do you think about that, and how would you give advice to other credit unions who are looking to put financial well-being, financial health at the center of their strategy, as Patelco has done over the last couple of years? What does that look like? Do you have any sort of words of thought or advice on that?
I honestly believe it's what a credit union's purpose is. But in addition to that, it's also the differentiator for a credit union in a market where there's not differentiation. And what I mean by that is there are things I will do that those big banks will never, ever, ever do, because they're beholden to a shareholder and they can only do so much by their charter and by their construct. And with all the fintechs out there, they can only do so much too. Where we can differentiate our service in financial health by making it unique to the member, to the point of where the member is in their journey, and help them make their steps forward. So we don't promise miracles, but we promise progress. And what we do is we try to meet people where they're at and make the next steps forward. And to the point where they can see 6 to 12 months out, and get them off of living for just today into, okay, I can control more than I realize. And that takes a team who knows how to do that. And we've done recently a lot of certifications on financial health coaching, so that they could be certified to do that and really draw out plans for people. And in fact, those certified financial planners for us right now have been incredibly wonderful during this period of time, because our most troublesome members, troublesome in the sense of their financial life, they're doing over the phone or Zoom meetings with and walking them through and personally helping them. And we're learning about those members because we switched over to the Gallup Financial Wellbeing Survey process.
Yep.
And you would be amazed with what people will tell you. And you'll be heartbroken too, to be honest with you. But every one of those kinds of comments that are just really devastating comments, we have one of our certified team members make contact. First of all, they're shocked that they actually get a contact after a survey comment.
I'm sure they are. Yep.
But the fact of walking them through that, you can see the comments you get back. The fact that, comments such as, "Oh my God, I can finally breathe."
Right.
I mean, it's not frivolous comments. So I think having the certified team members who know how to do this and connecting them with the team or with the members who are the most challenged right now has been a great win for those members, and has been incredibly fulfilling for the team members. Because part of what we always say to them is, you make a difference. Just know that no matter how bad this gets today, you are making a difference in someone else's life. And let's remember, being beyond ourselves is going to be more rewarding, and think about that. And so we publish stories when the team members make a difference, but they share their own stories now too. So I think when you can connect people to the mission where they can have a personal connection to it, and then they can literally see how they make a difference in someone's life. And the fact that they're not only able, but allowed to do that. They make things just come to life. That has been incredible here. So I think Patelco's fortune is its team. So.
That's amazing. I mean, it's just, to summarize, to number one, empower your team to be able to do that and give them the acumen to have this combined sort of technical knowledge, but also the empathy, the meeting people where they are in life, because it's a combination of those skill sets. And to be able to have that as the center, so that I, as a member, can, to use the word breathe, I think is appropriate, because, oh my gosh, to be able to have a view of my dreams and my possibilities when right now life just has no slack to it. And I feel like somebody's helping me as a trusted advisor to do that. Like you, and again, I admitted to being prejudiced, I think that's what credit unions are all about. And that's the opportunity right now in dire times for members to understand that credit unions can be kind of that lifeline and that trusted advisor. So it's so neat to hear you talk about what that means in practice, and how, and give advice and thoughts of, hey, here's what Patelco does, but maybe other credit unions can learn and take some of these things to implement in their own shop to really to live this mission and to be able to go forward. So really awesome. Please.
And the only other advice I can give is, if you believe in this, then it's what you talk about and it's what you recognize. Because at Patelco, we never talk about financial performance. We only talk about mission performance. But I am a big believer is, if you are doing the right things for your members, the financial performance will work itself out. And so our team is focused on people, not on numbers. So, but you got to believe that in the soul, that these things work. They do it for Patelco. I would tell you, when I was at Schools First, they did at Schools First too. If you firmly believe and you put all your emphasis around people, the team and the members, and you do what's right and in their best interest, the financials will work themselves out. So
great, just great ending words on that. So, Erin, first of all, it's so great to see you and connect with you. So I appreciate your time. Again, I love just exploring more. That one comment that you made at our convening and being able to capture that to hopefully help inspire others, honestly, to think about financial health and well-being as the center of their strategy. And keep on rocking it. It's just great. It's inspiring to hear your story, but it's also, I think it's empowering to the extent that we have so much good work to do for people and they need us. And what you are doing is a great example and testament to that. So, best to you and your team. Stay well. And thanks for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And the same to you and your team.
Yeah, thank you.